Hi, my name is Frank Washkuch. I'm news editor at PR Week, and I'm here with Roger Bolton. He is the president of the Arthur W. Page Society. Roger, welcome.
Thank you, Frank.
So your organization released a new model for corporate communicators this morning. So if you're talking to a Fortune 500 CCO or a corporate communications executive at a major company, what should they get out of it when they read it for the first time and examine it?
Yeah. Well, this is a well-vetted hypothesis of how the practice of corporate communications is changing. And I think there's a real opportunity for us as communicators to learn from this, learn from each other, that the radically transparent world in which we live is a different place. And while some of the eternal verities about behavior and character remain true, there are new implications for the way we help our enterprises succeed in this environment. And this model is intended to be a guide for some of those changes.
You mentioned the last time we talked that prior models didn't really have entries for Facebook or for Twitter or things like that, and it's updated to embrace that, so to speak.
Yes.
What can you tell us about how it's handling social media and the impact it has on communications?
Well, social media has clearly changed the world in very fundamental ways. One of the most important is that everyone now has the ability to publish. Everyone now has the ability to communicate. And this ability is transforming the way that people react to each other and in turn react to enterprises. So as we used to think about influencing the many through influencers or through the traditional media, we now have the opportunity for the many to influence many more. And that means that we have to have a sophisticated understanding of how to reach and interact with people more as individuals. They expect that. They want to have relationships with enterprises, and we have to find ways to develop those relationships in ways that are deep and meaningful and lead to a feeling of affinity based on shared belief that results in advocacy at scale.
So that sounds like a pretty radical change from before for a lot of communicators.
Yeah.
What's the feedback you've heard from them as far as how they're handling this and what they expect from you as far as direction on this goes?
Well, it's interesting. There are certainly among our members leading edge practitioners who are in fact inventing this. And all we are really saying that we're doing is looking at those leading edge practitioners and saying this is what the leading edge looks like. There are others, oftentimes in more B2B kinds of environments or manufacturing kinds of environments where it feels a little foreign. And yet they are still being impacted by the same kinds of changes. So we're hearing a range of reactions from, yeah, we get it, to this is kind of scary and different. But I think we have the opportunity now to learn from each other and share learnings. And I think that there are insights that are beginning to make us all see how we can be better by working together.
So reading through it this morning, there's a big emphasis on culture within a company and then enacting that culture across the company and then communicating it outside.
Yes.
So what's a good example of a company that really gets that, that really you can identify it with the culture right when you think of the brand name, and then they do a good job of emanating that outside of the organization?
Well, there's a lot of good examples. The one that comes to mind would be IBM. This whole notion of smarter planet, which may appear to be kind of an advertising or marketing campaign, really isn't. It's a fundamental transformational thought about the nature of that enterprise. And so they've combined this really insightful mission, which takes into account the value that they create, along with their culture of analysis and sharing information in a way that is distinctive and differentiating. So there's one. Another would be Johnson & Johnson, the famous reliance on the Credo. They've been through some difficult times recently, but they continue to seek to be true to that deep-seated corporate character that's been around for a long time. Another great example would be General Electric, where Gary Sheffer and Beth Comstock have created this concept of GE imagination, which plays out in eco-imagination, health imagination, and imagination at work, which is their way of thinking about the cultural aspects of creating value. All three of those are fundamentally corporate character that goes to mission, values, culture, purpose, in a way that is distinctive and differentiating.
Right, and a lot of the communications leaders from those companies are here today. I know we saw Gary downstairs, but
yes.
What have they given you tips? Have they said, here's the thing we've learned the most? here's what you should do? Have they given you any insights that you've implemented in this new plan?
Well, yeah, I mean, the plan is really based on observing those 3 companies and 10 others in the initial research, and then the initial findings were shared with our broader range of companies. And so the whole idea of having and articulating and activating across the entire enterprise a strong corporate character, and then activating it outside the enterprise by forging shared belief, leading to actions, confidence, and advocacy at scale, that's in fact what they're doing. And so if you look at the new model carefully, there are frameworks buried within there that get to some of the tips that you're looking for. For example, how do you activate corporate character? Well, there's a framework that we've developed called Looks Like, Feels Like, Performs Like, that gives you a way of kind of checking off, here are the things that we do, are they in fact aligned with our mission, purpose, values, character, if you will, in a way that truly creates that activation across the enterprise.
Interesting. Again, this is Frank Washkuch. I'm the news editor of PR Week. This is Roger Bolton with me, and he is the president of the Arthur W. Page Society. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Frank.